Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the SIMGOT EA2000 Boson. I think I'm saying that correct. I'm not sure what the intended meaning of the word is. All I do know is that boson is a subatomic particle. That's the definition of boson. I'm assuming maybe they wanted to go down that road with regards to what it could mean. Anyway, I'm really excited to review this IEM. I've been waiting for it for a long time. It really took forever to be able to get it, as it was only available in the Japanese market initially, and Chinese market. Sorry, Japanese and Chinese market. So it wasn't easy to get my hands on it. Anyway, finally have it. Boxed is similar to what you get in the EA1000. Sorry, the EN1000. Okay, so that's the box. Inside the box, we have this. Okay. Salute to the great pioneers of constructing quantum theory. So I'm assuming then that boson is then something to do with chemistry and all of that. You open it up. On this end, some paperwork. Underneath is the carrying case, which I'll get to in a second. Okay, let's just put this away here nicely, right? And on the other end, the IEMs came over there. Underneath that, a box with some paperwork, and underneath that, some tips and the interchangeable tuning plugs. Plenty of tips. The plugs are two. Well, actually 3 plugs, 2 3.5mm and 1 4.4 plug. You get a blue and a black on the 3.5, and you just get a black on the 4. And afterwards, when I get to the graph sections, you'll see the differences between those. So that's it. Very premium looking packaging, conducive with the price. This is just over $300. So you want to know that something that price comes presented in a proper manner, and kudos to SIMGOT for doing it. Okay, so this is the carrying case, right? Similar to the EA1000 case. The mentioned plugs that I was telling you about, the 3.5 in blue and in black, as you can see. I've got some tips here inside here so you can see as well. All right, and then the IEM itself, which is, as are its siblings, mind you, probably the most beautiful metal shelled IEM that I own. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, this thing screams premium, screams quality from every single angle. I mean, wow. This is design and art and everything combined in one. Beautiful. That bigger hole that you see there corresponds to the 6mm passive driver. This IEM has the peculiar fact that it uses a 12mm dynamic and then a 6mm passive driver to assist with the lowest of the bass notes. Okay. Something that you sometimes see done in home audio. Okay, the shells are on the big side, but they fit well. I didn't have any real issues with it. The only issue I had with the fit was that these here hooks are a little bit too, but okay, fine. Once you get the right position, it's all right. MMCX connector. And that's it. I mean, that's really not much more to say than this. Okay. In this particular case, well, this is a stock cable, silver-plated copper cable. Nice quality of cable, mind you. I'm using the 4.4 termination with the incorporated tuning filter. Okay, and in this, all right, you just open this up. All right, there we go. So no need to show more than that. I think we already know more or less what this is all about. Let me just close it up quickly. All right, there we go. So that's it. So yeah, I mean, accessories wise, quality of the product, I mean, top marks. This is one area where no fingers can be pointed to SIMGOT. This is absolute art. Beautiful. There is one small issue with all of this, which is the shells are absolute fingerprint monsters. I mean, these things constantly full of fingerprints. I mean, it is what it is. But you know what? It's a small price to pay. For me, it's a small price to pay to have something so beautiful, so beautiful. All right. Anyway, on to what we want to know, which is how does it sound, and that's what we're here for. All right. I've just got its SIMGOT brothers here to position it. EA500, EN1000, EA2000. Okay. Single 10mm dynamic driver, single 10mm dynamic driver, single 12mm dynamic driver with a 6mm passive. EA1000 was the EN1000 was the first one to be released. Premium looking shell as well. I mean, beautiful. 3 tuning filters: black, blue, and red. The black you can consider to be the bass, the neutral, and then the blue brings down the levels above 2K a little bit, and the 3 brings it down another further dB, a few dBs. The differences are noticeable, and especially in that area between the, let's say, 5 and 8K, there's a peak that well, all of them have that area slightly boosted. All right, when you see the graphs you'll understand. But on the EN1000, this is the one that has it the most boosted. And if on the one hand, having that allows it to have amazing technicalities, I mean, it's got a crazy good amount of air, of extension up top, great technicality, soundstage, imaging, those are features which are going to be emphasized by having that boost, all right? On the other hand, it brings with it also negatives. Some songs can be sibilant, it can become fatiguing, and depending on how loud you like to listen to, you'll probably end up having the knob turned down most of the time, because it can get to you. That's the reality. So to that extent, what I did was I just added a small little foam, medium density foam on there, and I'll show you what the results were. Added a medium density foam on there, and that's how I listen to it. However, I'm going to give you my opinion in terms of sound on its stock format and with that medium density. All right. In its stock format, it's got all those characteristics that I just mentioned, loads of technical abilities are very, very pronounced. But because the bass has been done in a very neutral manner, it's a very neutral, warm manner, you notice that it doesn't always keep up with the amount of energy you have up top. It can make some songs sound a little bit thin. So if you like your bass guitar a little bit, it can sound a little bit off tone sometimes, or not off tone, but with a thin tone sometimes. Tip selection is of utmost importance on all of the SIMGOT models. Actually, probably the one that's the most easygoing is the 500. But on these two, the 1000 and the 2000, you definitely need to play around with tips. These 07s from KBR are working flawlessly. So yeah, I mean, bass is good, clean, detailed, textured. Mids are excellent, amazing. Female vocals, male vocals, everything comes across beautifully. It's just that emphasis there between like 5.5 and 8, like I was saying, which is a few dBs higher, which, if on the one hand it gives you more technical capabilities, on the other hand it becomes fatiguing and doesn't allow the rest of the spectrum to follow up as well. By adding the little foam filter like I've done, it changes everything completely. It now becomes almost a plateau once the pinna gain is finished, and after its peak at 2-point-something kilohertz, sorry. And the minor amount that you lose in technicalities is so minute that honestly it makes it's made up for by how much more pleasant the EN1000 becomes. You can listen to it, you can truly take advantage of what it has to offer. The bass becomes now more balanced with the mids and with the highs. That great sound stage that it has, it's still there. Honestly, it is a fantastic IM, and I mean, $189, of course, is a lot of money. and it's got tough competition. It does, but even if for no other major reason than to have something which is so premium looking, it deserves to have a listen. It deserves to have a listen. Having said all of this, obviously, of course, people might like it in its stock format with that added energy. Personally, with me, it's medium density foam on there, and it's honestly, it's nirvana. I mean, this as it is, the oxygen, the Tanstrom oxygen, Aureolus Isabelli, Sonic Memory SM2, those are all IEMs which, in terms of single DD, BQEYZ Autumn, are all IEMs that I really kind of have as my references when I'm wanting to compare stuff. Okay, that's that. EA500. It's basically become probably one of the biggest IEMs hyped this year. Beautiful shell. I mean, you look at this thing and you say, no way you can get this for $67 like you can at LINSOUL, or roughly about the same price as well at HIFIGO. No way. It's got to be more expensive. So the build quality is just beautiful. It's got detachable nozzles, two detachable nozzles, a red and a black. The black is the default, which yeah, I think the red was the default, but anyway, it's irrelevant. The black has a foam inside, and the red has no foam. Okay, so it's just straight through. On the straight through with the red, that area, that peak that I was mentioning, is again a little bit more prominent, as is the case with the EN1000 and a little bit with the 2000. With the nozzle with the foam, it brings it down, becomes more plateaued. Okay, so it emulates more than what I did to the EN1000 and what the EA2000 is. The cable that it brings is decent. I'm using a Penon 480 cable. Beautiful cable. I mean, honestly, I'm not one that usually goes for defending, cables are a must, this and that, but this cable, when I measured it electrically, it fulfilled amply what I consider my minimum requirements. And compared to the stock cable, which isn't a bad cable, mind you, there is, you can, if you are really careful, you can pick up on slight differences. And I mean, this cable is inexpensive. This is like $50. So anyway, the base is punchy, it's clean, it's textured, it's graphed similar to the EN1000, but there's more of it there. There's more of it here than on the 1000. The mids, personally for me, warm, detailed, accurate, period. They're perfect, really perfect. I've heard people say, a little bit too recessed. I've heard people say, it's too intense. You can't please everybody. For me personally, with what I listen to, spot on. These are spot on mids. And the highs have all the twinklies and the sparklies, or the shimmer, as some people like to call it, that is needed. They match everything perfectly. I mean, the reason why this sounds so good is because it's tuned in a very similar way, and this is my personal opinion, to the Tanstrom oxygen. And if you've heard of Tanstrom oxygen, and if you then straight away listen to this, you'll see what I'm saying. You'll understand what I'm saying. The oxygen has just a few little extra dBs on the base, which you can do that on here. You just you just put a little filter there, the Y1 or Y2. You just see how much you want to add. You can. But that aside, for me, the way that the frequencies are matched coherently is spot on. It sounds fantastic. That's the reality. Is there a negative point, a flaw on it? As I said, for bass heads, this is not the ideal. Neither is that one either as well. This is going to sound a little bit I'm being one-sided. This is to listen to music. Okay, if you want to have your ears blasted into next week, they can do it, but that's not where they are shining, and not you're not really getting the full potential. It's like buying a Ferrari for you to go and do your groceries. No, you buy a Ferrari because you want to drive fast, you want to go into a track and you want to enjoy, you want to see how it corners, you want to do that corner. that, that's what this is for when you listen to it the way it was intended to be done. Same thing applies to the EN1000. Finally, brings us to the 2000 after this big big presentation, let's put it that way. This is, I would say, an IM that goes and fetches what both of these have as their strong points. In terms of the bass, it's unquestionably the best one. It's got that extra fullness that passive radiator is helping out with the 12mm driver. Also, it's a 12mm driver, so by default it will have more bass. But the bass is being tuned to perfection. It's got weight, presence, texture, speed, everything. It is absolutely flawless, the bass. The mids are perfect. If I am to really fault it, maybe the slightly earlier rise in the pinna gain than the other two can occasionally make some certain female vocals sound a little bit too forward. But when I say this is a nitpick, this is a nitpick, okay? Highs, they are highs which pen towards more the highs of the EA500, so they are full of twinklies and sparkles and shimmer and all of that. The difference that I notice is that here you sometimes get a feeling of, and for me it's not an issue, okay, but this is me to try and position this better for you. Over here you can sometimes occasionally feel like the treble is a BA treble. It's got that metallicness to it, which being a DLC coated diaphragm, you shouldn't really notice that, or you shouldn't really be pressing. But anyway, I don't dislike it. For me, I like it perfect, maybe because of my old ears. This does that, but a little bit more polished. So it's just being done in a slightly more relaxed manner. Okay, so you don't notice on those rare occasions that metallicness of the treble. All right. In terms of technicalities, another beast. Soundstage, perfect. Imaging, perfect. Detail retrieval, perfect. I mean, in terms of detail retrieval, none of these here are an issue. Soundstage, none of them are. The technical aspects on this SIMGOT Brotherhood here is spot on. And the truth is this. I mean, the EA500 has kind of rocked the market, because what you're getting in terms of sound, the only other IEM that kind of did the same thing in more recent times was the Olina and the Olina SE. All right, this thing at an even lower price, in my opinion, is actually being able to exceed the Olina's performance. All right, this at obviously just over $300. It's again in a price bracket where you have a lot of really good stuff. You already have some very capable hybrids, some very capable planars, and it's a hard battle to win and to say no, this is the one to go, because this is unquestionably the best one. Now, what I will say is that this joins for sure that elite group of single DDs that I use as my references. Any one of these three is now part of that group, to be totally honest. The way that they've been able to take this relatively, well, I've never seen it being used, to be honest, in IEMs, but the way they've been able to implement this passive technology on this size scale and make it work the way it is for a first time is commendable. Is there room for improvement? Yes, there's definitely room for improvement. The mids, the upper mids to treble, they can be, I think, further improved. Is it by much? Not by much, but they can be cleaned up a little bit more to give more that extra cleanliness. Although, I mean, once again, let me just make it perfectly clear. I'm really nitpicking, because there's, between this and the oxygen, okay, and the guy, those of you that followed me for a while, you know that for me the oxygen has always been my number one baby. Between this and the oxygen, it's tough. It is really tough, because where this one has a little bit less bass than the oxygen, and there are very few occasions where I can see that the oxygen just edges out this, all right, the 500. The 2000, it has that bass. So in the bass department, the oxygen is not able to beat it completely. No, it hasn't. It's not more speedy than the oxygen in terms of its slam. It's not more textured. You know, nothing. There's nothing that the oxygen truly does better than this. Nothing. Not even the treble. Not even the extension up top. No. So yeah, guys. I mean, you know, as always, I'm not going to tell you to go out and buy it straight away and get it because this is the one to do. No, no. What I'm going to say is, if you have a chance to listen to it, listen to it. You will definitely not regret it. I can guarantee you that much, because it is a beautifully built IM that's been very well tuned, and definitely there's a margin here for improvements on it. Definitely there is, but it's worthwhile having a listen. Definitely worthwhile having a listen. All right. Anyway, guys, I'll show you now the graphs, and I'll see you in a bit. Take care. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section of the EA2000. And straight away, this is the graph of the EA2000. Everything sits within a window, well, the majority of it within a window of 10 dBs, and then these two areas here, the peak of the pin again, and this area between the 5 and the 8K, like I was mentioning, also exceeds the 10 dB. The bass, although it looks like it's bleeding more than what would be the ideal, that's not what you hear. It wasn't easy to measure this because I actually had to cover up the whole of the passive radiator to be able to get the coupler to measure it. But yes, it is definitely a V signature. It qualifies within those criteria that I have, which is 8 dBs either way, and then that becomes a V. And yeah, that's what it is. Okay, the EN1000, sorry, I continue saying EN1000 is this one. Okay, let me just change here the color so you can actually see it better. Okay, in red we have the EN1000, neutralish warm kind of bass, as I said, same kind of peak of the pina, and then it's this area here that is even more prominent. Okay, nice indicator of good sound stage, as you can see. And it was this particular model that I did that small mod of the phone, and by adding the phone, which is this one here, let me just show you quickly. Okay, by putting the phone, I've brought this down ever so slightly, so everything stays within a tighter window of tolerance. So everything now stays within 71. So the majority stays within 8 dBs, roughly 8-9 dBs, and then you still have that little bit of extra energy there. But it's fine. It's now way more tolerable at higher volumes. It doesn't become an issue that can be a little bit sibilant or harsh or aggressive, as I mentioned. And you don't lose much of that 3D-ness anyway. So, perfect. As compared to the 2000, sorry guys, as compared to the 2000, yeah, you can definitely see a major difference in the bass, and you can hear it. And then the 2000, a little bit more energetic over here in the pin again peak, a little bit less so on the other area, and not as much, at least graphically, not as much 3D capability. Okay, and finally, the IM that has been kind of all the rage now lately, and really, causing some havoc. The 500, let me just quickly show you. Let me align it here better. Okay, and as you can see, the 500, let me just for a quick second here take away the 2000. The 500, as you can see, is very much, graphically, it's very much an EN1000, but where this area here has been brought down. And this is using the black filter, which has the foam. Okay, and following that same idea, following that same principle, that is exactly what I did to my EN2000. and with the foam on it, so to try and best control that area there, what we end up with is this. Okay, so even closer, I would say, to the overall sound of the EA500. A little bit less rise in the pinna gain, and then look, it's difficult for me to actually convey, but trust me when I say that it sounds much better. I mean, the difference is day and night. You can really crank it up and everything maintains itself. There's good scalability. Nothing gets out of whack. Nothing gets, out of that boundary that you want to maintain. So that's an idea for SIMGOT. SIMGOT should perhaps consider putting the foam, because when you add the filters into the equation that they use, there are differences that you notice it. That can be noticed. So even with the foam, those differences will still be present. Okay, and since it worked so well here for the EN1000, I said to myself, well, why not do it for the EA2000 to see how that came out? And that's exactly what I did. So I'm just going to show the 2000 first. All right, so that's, the 2000 first. That's it in its stock. Okay, and then it with the foam. So a slight little reduction there. This is a medium density foam. Okay, slight reduction, again plateauing this whole area here between the peak of the pinna gain and about 8K. So in my personal opinion, much nicer. I mean, compared here with the EA500, as you can see, very similar. The EA500 just has a little bit more detail. Okay, although the difference is not as what seems here. So it doesn't have this much more sparklies and twinklies, no. And sorry, not this one. This one is the EN1000. Look, putting aside that you have a huge difference in terms of the bass on the 2000, up top they are all very close, There's really not much difference. And just now, for sake of better understanding all that I said during the review, so that you guys can, for example, understand why we have this nice performance out of the 500, for example. This is the, where is it? Yes, exactly, 14. This is the Tanstrom oxygen tuning. And I think it's self-explanatory. There's that little extra amount of bass that I mentioned, so there's no roll off, and it's just that little extra amount. And then this whole area is very equal. I mean, it's actually quite amazing. If I was to compare it here, for example, with the with my modified version of the 1000, which is number 10, I mean, again, you see, very similar, very similar. And finally, why not with the 2000? Here you will see again that similarity in the way that the mids and upper mids have been done in the treble, and just that little extra bass boost from the side of the 2000. Anyway, guys, look, as I mentioned in the review, if you have the opportunity, go out, listen to it before you jump and buy. It's a very nice IEM, that I can tell you. It's built, its accessories, everything is very premium. There's nothing like actually listening to it and then you saying to yourself, is it worthwhile buying? Is it worthwhile buying? Oh, one thing that I forgot to mention, and that's actually, I think, important that I do, is if you use the 1000 with its black, with the black filter, you are not stuck to having to use that cable. You can swap it out for a different cable, and that's exactly what I did. I actually used this measurement here that you see of the 1000. Where is it? This measurement. Yes, this measurement here. This measurement here of the 1000 is actually using an XINHS copper cable. Which, mind you, in terms of graph, it's exactly the same. It gave me, I think I actually have it here. Let me just see. Sorry about that. I actually think I have it here. I believe it's this one. Is it this one? Exactly. There you go. So that's with the XINHS copper cable, and what I've just overlaid is with the stock cable using that filter. What you do see here slightly is, if you notice here carefully on the base, okay, look carefully, slight little bit more noise, okay, that's all. Otherwise it graphs identical. Okay, what did I notice with the XINHS cable? Well, besides the versatility that I'm now able to use a 4.4 millimeter connection, I noticed a very, very minor cleanup of the sound. That's it, period. Very, very minor cleanup of the sound, where in the upper mids and treble. That's where I noticed it, but very, very minor. Okay guys, as always, like and subscribe. Any questions you might have, please feel free to ask. You know, I'm here to help you out and to try and give the best support I can to everybody that asks for it. All right, you take care now. Bye bye.